Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
The truth shall set you free.
You can't handle the truth.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
That's not how the Force works. Oh, really? You're cold?
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
I'd buy that for $1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Hasta la vista, baby. I don't have friends. I got family.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
Hello and welcome to the Creative Control Movie Podcast and this special spoiler movie review of The Suicide Squad. Joining me for today's review, we have Sasha, Alex, and first time to the Creative Control Podcast, Dylan. How you doing, gentlemen?
All good.
All good. Awesome.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us. So we've all seen The Suicide Squad in the last 24 hours. So we just kind of want to share our thoughts and opinions of the movie. So first of all, Jen, so obviously I saw it with Sasha and Alex last night. Dylan, you saw it today?
I just saw it this morning. Yeah. Just
Right,
saw an 11 o'clock show.
So I kind of know Sasha and Alex's thoughts. So I'm going to come to them after. So I'm just going to come to you first. What was your initial thoughts of the film?
Loved it. It was really good. It was a breath of fresh air. I mean, I'm still trying to remember what the first Suicide Squad was about. So I've literally got it loaded up on Netflix. So tonight I'm going to just get a recap of how it went. But I thought this was really good. Really well shot. The camera work, the visual effects, everything was just on point. I really love the style of how it had like sort of a comic book-esque style, you know, when it's telling the story, and how it kind of transitioned into other bits and pieces. So
yeah, it had lots of
loved
overlaps, didn't it? Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And it had that kind of similar look to Smoking Aces, kind of the flavor to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed it.
Okay. Sasha, what was your first thoughts?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It just seemed like James Gunn unleashed, basically, without the constraints of Marvel. Not that that's a bad thing. It's just Marvel do their films a certain way where they like to oversee everything because obviously they have a plan that interconnects with other movies and stuff. But this one just seemed like, you know, DC just was like, well, you just do what you want. Just let us know how it goes. They slapped on an R-rated certificate to it, and he went nuts with the R rating. And I know some of the breakouts for me were Sly Stallone's Killer Shark. Is it Killer Shark? What's his name?
King Shark.
King Shark. Yeah, King Shark. Love that character. I'm only familiar with him on the Flash TV show. I've only seen the first 2 seasons of the Flash TV show because I thought it went downhill. But
and the Harley Quinn animated series, right?
Oh yeah, and the Harley Quinn animated series. So yeah, with DC, with DC Comics, I wouldn't say that I know much outside of Superman and Batman. To be fair, I was more a Marvel guy. But as a film, I really enjoyed this one. It seemed quite cool. There was nothing I didn't like. I liked the fact that we spent a lot of time with the different characters. There were some characters I wasn't sure about at first, but they kind of grew on me as the movie went on because it was well put together. And I liked we got some carnage. People were dispendable on this film. I'm not saying who, but people I didn't expect to not make it out of there didn't make it out of there. So, you know, the stakes felt real in this film, and it, you know, as comic booky as it wasn't comic booky. So really, really good film, man.
Cool. Okay, Alex, and what about yourself?
Yeah, just echo what the other two have already said. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Had a good sort of flow to the story, as opposed to the first Suicide Squad, which was sort of like, you know, obviously very choppy and sort of, you know, just in the characters, and this kind of had a nice overarching story. Some great performances. Again, same characters that I was expecting to maybe not make it, did make it, and vice versa, which was interesting. And yeah, and characters that were returning were great, and also the new characters that were introduced, I was like, yeah, fantastic. Obviously, Idris was awesome as Bloodsport, and yeah, there's a few others, but I won't mention any names just yet, since we're in non-spoiler territory. But yeah, no, overall came out loving it, absolutely loving it.
Yeah, I agree. For me, this I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was laughing so many times throughout this movie, and you know, I just thought it was so well written. It really did feel like a group of people just you know, having banter back and forth, you know, and just ripping into each other and stuff like that. It was yeah, it was beautifully shot. I think the artistic direction that he kind of took it in was fantastic. I really like some of the transitions where he was kind of telling you where it was like, this was like 8 months ago, 3 minutes earlier, this and the other, and they kind of using the aesthetics around on the screen to kind of demonstrate that, particularly on the beach, you know, where it's like, this is now, or whatever, you know, said. So it was really, really stylish, and that kind of speaks a little bit like the comic book stuff. But yeah, and again, in the way of telling the story, to kind of get some shock factors and bits and pieces, you did have some overlap of story. So, you know, it did go back and forth, and it kind of pieced together. And then probably for the third, then kind of as you get to the third act and the big finale, it then kind of goes linear. But other than that, it, you know, it does go back and forth. And yeah, absolutely fantastic. So people watching this, you're probably familiar with the story of Suicide Squad and what it's about, but just in case you weren't, so the first Suicide Squad came out in 2016, and that was directed by David Ayer, had Will Smith, Margot Robbie, and basically the film had mixed reaction when it came out. You know, I don't think there was many faults with the performances, but a lot of people felt that the story was lacking. It was choppy, you know, a bit choppy, but it did well enough at the box office to warrant a sequel. David Ayer was going to come back and do that, and Will Smith was going to come back. Jared Leto was going to come back, and that was kind of in development for a long time. And then we had Gotham City Sirens come up, which was supposed to be the Harley Quinn sort of like movie with the femme fatales of Gotham City, and he was going to direct that instead. So they were looking for other directors, and you know, went around, you know, a fair bit, and they kept delaying it to make sure Will Smith was available because he was doing Aladdin, then Gemini Man, and then basically James Gunn, you know, fell out with Disney. Basically some historic tweets came up, which they, you know, didn't think was in their image. They fired him from Guardians of the Galaxy 3, so he was available, met with Waters, and he said, the only way that I will do this is if I can do whatever I want. It's got to be R-rated. I can use whatever characters I want, and I can kill off whoever I want. And surprisingly, Warner said yes, you know, because this is a studio who gets involved. We saw it with Zack Snyder's Justice League, and how they interfered with that. And even David Ayer has come out and said, you know, he actually released a statement in the last 48, 72 hours where he's kind of described his journey. And I didn't realize he had such a harsh upbringing. You know, he was on the streets, he was in gangs, he'd, you know, been to prison, you know, had people die in his arms. And it wasn't until he sold his script for Training Day that he ended up, you know, becoming what he became. And he said basically that's not his film. He says Suicide Squad is not his film. He had strong characters, he had a strong third act. It didn't have any of the pop and rock music in it. It was a scored piece, you know, so his version is very, very different. And a lot of fans are wanting to say, right, I want to see the Ayer cut of the Suicide Squad, you know, because one of his conditions on doing the second one was he wanted it to be R-rated because he felt the first one was kind of on the verge of it, but it didn't go far enough. But like his version, I think, would have been a lot more like that. So, but yeah, so James Gunn took it over, and you know, he wrote it, he did the screenplay, he's directed it, and yeah, I think he's done a fantastic job. And you know, Marvel has obviously since come crawling back and said, yeah, please come back and do Guardians Volume 3, because I think a lot of the cast were quite insistent on that. They wanted to work with him, and they realized that the talent this guy has, you know, the way he storytells and his directing. So let's touch on some of the performances then. So Alex, you mentioned Idris Elba. He is probably effectively the lead of the movie, I would say.
I'd agree with that.
You know, and you know, so he is you know, kind of goes through his journey a little bit through it, and yeah, he just fit in. And if anything, he was probably the one who was most reactive, where it's like, for fuck's sake, fuck this, you know, he was just like, I don't want to fucking be here, you know. So, and he was getting dragged along because basically Waller has come out and said, you know, I'm going to do this if you don't join the squad. And he felt like he had little choice to do that. So it felt a little bit similar to the Will Smith recruitment from the first movie. And even though this isn't a direct sequel, but it's also not a reboot. It is a second movie, but again, it's not Suicide Squad 2, but you have one of it's the same character, and the movie starts off very much like, this is it, you do the job, 10 years off your sentence, kind of just goes into it, so no messing around kind of thing. So any more thoughts on Idris? No, sorry. Okay, solid performance. Okay.
Nailed it, mate.
Yeah, so Margot Robbie came back, obviously as Harley Quinn. I really enjoyed her in this. We spoke about after the film. I wasn't a fan of Birds of Prey. I think sometimes you can have maybe too much Harley. I think she works better integrated within other people in a team. But for all the faults that Birds of Prey had, it has got some positive, and her performance, there was nothing wrong with that. The way she's brought that character to the screen, people love it. It's the cosplay of the last 5 years. All her different outfits. But I really enjoyed her in this. She has some really good humor. Her fight sequences were fantastic. There's a scene where she is. It's almost like a romantic love build-up scene in the middle of the movie where she's developing a relationship with the president of the country, and then that just takes a turn, and you're just like, okay. But it just showed again a different side of her, but it gave you a bit more of an understanding of her and how she thinks of herself, and I thought that was really interesting. Any other thoughts on Margot?
I think compared to, I missed Birds of Prey completely, so I'm not too sure exactly what happens in there. But I think Margot's done a good job in there. She's I'm not sure whether this is spoiling territory or whatnot, but I think in this one, like you said, that she's not like an integral part of the character. She's like encompassed by others as a supporting role. But I definitely like the dynamic she played. But I think the best dynamic has been for me was Idris Elba and I'm really shit with names.
Peacemaker, John Cena.
John Cena. So Peacemaker and the Ratcatcher too. It is that trio for me that I think the character dynamic was really good.
Now, to be honest, the breakout performance for me was John Cena.
That's what I was going to come on to.
Now, John Cena in general, obviously he comes from WWE. His acting chops he's never been renowned for fantastic acting. But one thing I will say about him, like Dave Bautista and The Rock and others that have followed him, he's been very careful with his roles that he's picked in Hollywood. So he's played stuff which is towards his strengths, like in Blockers and in Transformers. Fair enough, that could have been anybody, but you know what I mean, he wasn't bad in that role. No. But this particular role, he was in it throughout the movie. We got a sense of his character. He had some depth in there, and to be honest, it is his best performance on screen, in my opinion. I think it's more a credit to James Gunn being a very good actor's director, because that's exactly why Bautista really likes working with James Gunn, because he brought the best out of Bautista, if that makes sense. And for someone just coming into acting, it's good to have someone that's an actor's director than someone like a Michael Bay that is more the visuals first and the acting's kind of non-existent. And I think as long as career-wise for You Can't See Me guy, I can't remember his name now. John Cena, you can't see me. No, if he works with good talent in directors that could bring that out of him, then he's got a solid career, like how the route Bautista's currently going, because Bautista's in quite a lot of good dramatic kind of films in the past 5 years for sure, since Guardians, to be fair. And it'll be interesting to see what he does. I hope he doesn't stay with the Fast franchise too long, but you gotta make bank where the money goes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
But,
no, exactly. Because you do need that screen presence. You need to be in those blockbuster movies to be able to maybe demand certain salaries that you want for other films. You know,
exactly,
so, you know, and
but
he wasn't bad in Fast 9. Again, he was decent.
no, yeah,
for the role that he needed.
yeah, sure.
To do. So yeah,
but yeah, no, 100%. He for me was the breakout star of this movie, mainly because I didn't expect him to be as good as he was, or for me to like him as much as I did.
Yes.
So yeah.
No, absolutely, I totally agree, and I think James Gunn saw that, which is why they went to HBO with this Peacemaker series, which I think they maybe almost finished filming it, but that's going to be a HBO Max exclusive, and it's going to be, and it's him and his character, and obviously they saw enough in the movie that they were just like, there's a lot more to this, and he's the type of person that can do these series to make himself available, and they must have finished filming now because he's back in WWE and he's going to be wrestling Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, so so that's kind of all done. But he's been likable in most of the movies he's been in, but he's only had like small roles, like you say, like Trainwreck he was in, like Sisters, and he's had these little like small like funny characters and stuff, but he's done his big like his kind of straight to DVD versions, like the Marine and what was the one who was in a fire station and stuff like that, so he's had those cheesy ones. But the same was Batista as well, he did that football film where it was like a bomb at football stadium, I think it's like West Ham Stadium, and he's done a couple of those non-descriptive action movies, but you kind of got to fill those gaps sometimes,
sure,
stuff like that. But absolutely good, absolutely fantastic in the film. Alex, what did you think of John Cena?
I thought he was fantastic. I'm not a wrestling guy, so I'm not that familiar with John Cena apart from the few things I've seen him in. But I didn't see Fast 9, so that's probably his most latest role, I assume, before this. But when he's popped up in sort of like blockers, he was anything sort of comedy, he seems to have been really, really good enough until this point. But I thought he was fantastic in this, and
it's great to hear him swearing, because you never get that in WWE. The most they'll say is maybe bitch or something like that, but to hear him dropping bombs and stuff like that, it was brilliant. The other kind of breakout in the movie was Daniela, I don't know if it's Melchior or Melchior, Ratcatcher.
Ratcatcher, yeah.
I thought she brought a lot of heart to her character, so a lot of emotion to it. I thought she was really, really good.
I would say after Cena, I would say she was probably the standout for me. Just that, like I said, I think she's probably got the most sort of heart to the movie, I suppose, and her story and that kind of stuff. So I was quite impressed with that and how her story played out.
Any other thoughts on her?
Yeah, I think she brought quite a lot of innocence out of that. Just being like naive to the the grittiness of like how the story's being told, but she's kind of been that kind of character of that positiveness. So I think she played quite a good part, and then she kind of kept the team kind of together as well.
There's that grounding element.
Exactly.
Yeah, she's done a lot of TV, a lot of non-English language speaking.
I was going to say, I had a quick look at her credits, beforehand. I think, there's not much on IMDb that she's been involved in.
No, so it's her first kind of major role.
Good exposure, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, we could go speaking about individual, more of the individual characters. David Dashmalan, again, he was great as Polka Dot Man, and
he's always good.
He doesn't really do much, but he's got some big franchises in that. He's in Dune coming up and stuff like that. So he's a very sought after actor, and I think again he was brilliant. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go into spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen the film and you don't want to know spoilers, go away now and check out our non-spoiler review. So we're going into spoilers for Suicide Squad, and first of all I'm going to say is holy shit, people fucking die in this movie. That first opening like 20 minutes that shocked the shit out of me. I was just like, I just, because we know that James Gunn likes working with Michael Rooker. You introduce this character like right off the bat, so you're kind of.
I thought he was the lead.
Yeah, exactly.
I legit thought he was the lead.
Exactly. So you're kind of put in a position where he's like the audience's entry into the movie. She's telling him this is what Suicide Squad is. This is what's going to happen and stuff like that. He's meeting the rest of his team, and it's fucking batshit crazy. You've got. You had Polka Dot Man. You had Captain Boomerang. You had obviously Colonel Rick Flag. Bloodsport, Peacemaker, Harley Quinn. Who else did we have?
Javelin.
We have Blackguard, who's Pete
Javelin.
Davidson.
TDK, Nathan Fillion.
TDK.
Yeah, TDK, Nathan Fillion and stuff like that. Sean Gunn was playing Weasel, and he also was Calendar Man in it as well. But you have this huge cast. It's in the trailer. They're all walking and stuff like that. This is your Suicide Squad. Man kills pretty much all of them in the first 15-20 minutes. I did not see that coming. My jaw hit the floor, and then especially when Rocket went as well, I was just like, holy shit. I was trying to think, who the fuck is left? And then they obviously switch it, so then your main team becomes you got Idris, you got Peacemaker, Bloodsport, Harley, King Shark, Polka Dot Man, and Ratcatcher 2. That's it. So they're your main core. Everybody else fucking dies. Everybody else fucking dies, except, again, spoilers, Weasel, because he comes right back at the end of the movie. And that's the character I was most interested in seeing going into this movie. I'm like, how is this character going to play out? Nah, he just fucking pulls a rug under for us. I was like, this was the first movie. I was like,
He doesn't even get killed or blown away. Literally, just they drop out of a helicopter into the ocean and he drowns.
He just drowns. Did anyone check the Weasel could swim? No, fucking just drown. I thought, okay, he's going to get to him. It's going to be this weird scene where he's going to have to give him mouth to mouth or something like that. Yeah. It's going to be really gross. No, he's dead. I was like, oh shit. So yeah, that was crazy.
You know what? When Boomerang Man died, I was like, what
you said to me, could he just die?
Yeah. Did he just die? I couldn't believe it.
He's got all this stuff stuck in him and stuff like that. And you're like, did he die? And then the helicopter comes and crashes on top of him. I'm like, I think so.
Yeah, I think he's dead. That was just it, because he was such a big part of the first movie, and it was just like, oh my days, they went there. The gloves were off, man, and I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I honestly couldn't believe it.
I had no idea about Nathan Fillion character as well. TDK is like the detachable kid. Suddenly, it's like arms out, pops both his arms off.
I really thought he was going to kick some ass, because when he detaches things, his arms are going to come out, get the guns.
He's just slapping people,
slapping shit. I was like, what?
That was ridiculous. It was just.
It just made me think of an action figure. When you used to, as a kid, sometimes you'd pull the arms off the action figures to try and
That's exactly what it looked like. Yeah.
It was had the little ball joints and stuff, and it was just hilarious.
Oh my god! And King Shark. I mean, Sylvester Stallone. Holy shit. He made me love that character. Because he had some really sympathetic moments where you're like, oh my god, I'm feeling for this shark. And then he's just biting people's heads, chewing on that skull, and he's ripping people apart. And I thought he was going to die several times.
Yeah.
And I think they obviously wanted you to feel that way. So he fell out of the building, hit the ground, then they're shooting at him, and then so a lot of fake outs and stuff like that. What are some of the other stuff that you guys want to talk about with this film?
I think definitely the interaction between I was going to say the pacifier,
Peacemaker.
John Cena's character, the Peacemaker, and Idris Elba. That interaction that they have when they go into the supposed the enemy camp. And then they're taking them out, and then trying to one-up each other. I think that was really good. And then the end result, the guys that's chilling, having some tea or
and they're like, this is the good guys.
Yeah, Rick Flag.
We don't know about anyone else as he walked in.
Oh man, I can't believe they killed off Rick Flag, man.
Yeah,
that was a huge shock. That was a huge shock, man. I was just like, what? Stabbed in the heart? I was like, there's no way he's coming back. And when they said we've managed to sustain the heart or whatever. Yeah. I thought they were talking about Rick Flag, and I was going to call bullshit.
Right. Right at the end, we have a post-credit. So right at the end, we got the post-credit scene, and basically they come in and say, yeah, we've managed to save someone, it was, with his heart and stuff like that. And he's had basically Peacemaker stabs him. They end up fighting because basically Peacemaker ends up not being bad, but he is working for Waller in a sort of another mission. He's got a mission within inside the mission. So probably should have mentioned this before, but basically the whole idea is they've got to intercept and destroy Jotunheim, which is basically this Nazi prison where they've been working on this alien which ends up calling Starro. And, you know, there's loads of data, and it turns out that the Americans are ones actually behind all the experimentation with Thinker, as opposed to them thinking it's this Corto Maltese and that you know, that country. So he has to retrieve the data and get it out of there so it's not exposed. And obviously, what's Flag's name? It's Rick Flag. So obviously he's like, no, we got to get out to the press kind of stuff. And so him and Peacemaker come to blows, and yeah, Peacemaker ends up killing him, and I didn't see that coming. And then Bloodsport kills Peacemaker, because then we're watching the credits and I was like, we were talking about, Peacemaker was excellent, man, I can't wait to see it. But it's obviously going to be a prequel series. End credit scene comes, they managed to actually pull him out of the rubble. It's actually Peacemaker, they say. So we're like, okay, so maybe it'll be a sequel then.
I tell you
I
what,
didn't see that coming.
I tell you what, the ending with the big kaiju. Yeah. Now here's the thing, okay, with the giant fucking starfish killing people, all right, which was insane. Now here's the thing, all right. There's two things I want to say about this. First thing, we just had Kong versus Godzilla, and we had a whole load of Godzilla movies. Now here's the thing, I hate all of those movies, and you know why? They don't make the humans interesting. I don't care about the humans. You know what I mean? You're supposed to care about the humans. Now I kind of got a hint. I kind of saw a little bit of a spoiler. I knew the kaiju was coming. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think the biggest difference is we care about these characters when this shit goes to pot. So, you know, it's like, yo, Legendary, like, sort out your shit, man. It's the reason why I like Kong Skull Island. Work out a tone, make it humorous, because that works. Because people like humor, people probably care more, you know, in an action blockbuster, and people will come. But make it deadpan serious, and no. What they're doing it all wrong at Legendary on the Godzilla franchise, man. We need some jokes. But back to the kaiju. This is the same studio that turned around and said you can't have a big giant fucking mutant octopus in fucking Watchmen. Yeah. That's the first thing I thought, because obviously it's a DC title. If you've ever read the Watchmen comic, when Dr. Manhattan, you know, at the very end, where I've forgotten the superhero's name, but the guy that's wrecking the planet, they do it with nuclear missiles. Yeah. Now, when I read Watchmen many decades ago now, I always thought if this was a movie, that's the first thing they're changing. That's a nuke. And lo and behold, that was exactly what they did. And I don't blame them from that point. But we're at a point now where we can have massive octopuses roaming the city and destroying it and killing people. Now, look back at Watchmen, I feel like I missed out now. I get where you're coming from. Absolutely.
But the world wasn't ready back then.
It wasn't ready. Totally. But then we were ready for a giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. So back in the 80s. So it's kind of like, I thoroughly enjoyed this film, man.
And then there was a moment when you got the final battle where you've got obviously Polka Dot Man, and he's, you know, there's this basically what his premise throughout the movie is he sees his mother all around, and there's so many brilliant scenes where he's turning around, he sees the Suicide Squad, and they all like look like his mum. It's just this random like older woman, but he keeps seeing her, and he uses that to kind of fuse his anger. And basically right at the end, Idris is like trying to get people motivated to like fight Starro, and you know, he goes to, you know, King Shark, num, you know, go eat. So he's like, oh, num, he's gonna go eat, and sort of like Harley Quinn take the high ground. He's like, sorry, he's like that's your mum. So he comes out, and Starro is basically this huge version of his mum. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then he starts firing his polka dots, and he starts tearing into her ankle, and the mum's going, oh, like her ankle's hurting and shit. It's fucking mental. And it's just like, and then obviously it goes back to the fact that it's Starro, and you get that point where it's like, he's like, oh, I finally did it. I'm a superhero. You got that distant shot with him in the background, and Bloodsport on the. It's like, it's coming. Boom, dead. And it's like, I actually thought he was going to be the one to take him out, and then it was just like,
same. Once he started using his powers and, like, you know, was taking out Starro's leg and stuff, I thought, oh damn, because to be honest, Polka Dot Man was the one that I assumed was going to be like fodder, like at the beginning of the movie, like everyone else. And so when he made it all the way through, I thought, okay, fantastic, you know, David Desmalchin is a great actor, and so when he started using his powers at the end, I thought, oh, okay, it's going to turn out that he's actually going to be the one.
Yeah, and then the one that ends up being
take him
is
out,
a combination of Ratcatcher having like 2 million rats chomping at this thing, and then obviously Harley Quinn with the spear tearing through the eye, and basically taking it out. So
I literally thought there's one section where the polka dot man said something about, oh, if I don't expel my polka dots, and I can internally combust or something like that, or it's like an interdimensional issue. And I thought, okay, that might be some kind of an arc to hit the kaiju with.
Yeah, so maybe sacrifice himself or something to like explode in him or something like that. Yeah,
I literally thought there was going to be like, when Idris Elba decides to start leading and he says, oh, you do this, I thought, yes, this is where the action is going to happen. And when the polka dot man first got the leg, and then obviously the whole mum thing going off, and I was like, yes, this is good. He's going to go he's going to go up, a mile. But suddenly that pull out, as soon as I know that pull out's there, it's okay, something, there's your answer. And I was like,
yeah, something's coming down here. Viola Davis, she was great. She was, really aggressive in this movie, in the way she was screaming at the characters and stuff like that.
Ruthless, mate, absolutely ruthless.
Yeah, she was brutal. She was just wanting to murk them all.
She didn't give a fuck.
No,
but exactly. But at the end of the day, exactly what that character needs to be.
Yeah,
I think she's always been. I think she's always been great as Amanda Waller. Mm-hmm. Now, I know Warner Brothers want to make Michael Keaton like the Nick Fury guy of the DCU, and I'm just like, Viola Davis. I'm just saying, like Amanda Waller.
She's fantastic.
Like, put her in more movies, man. I
Absolutely.
mean, Hollywood screaming about black representation. DC did it first. They had a black woman, be like in charge of like all these super freaks. Like put her in Superman, put her in Batman, put her in everything, man. Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. I love Michael Keaton. Okay, but there comes a point where you're relying on my nostalgia a bit too much here. But we'll see how that movie plays out.
That turns out, yeah.
But I mean, come on, man. She's excellent in this role. Just put her in everything, man. Just put her in everything. No one will get upset, because you know why? She's supposed to be in everything. That's her character. She's the Nick Fury of the DCU. But yeah, anyway. Rant over. I'll tell you what, though, I didn't expect her to get knocked the fuck out. Because when that happened, I was like, oh, some motherfucker's getting fired.
What was great is it's not like she had a change of heart. Like, okay, I'm going to allow the my team to rescue these people. She had to be taken out of the equation. She's like, no. You got one mandate, and that is fucking it. You don't go save these people.
I thought it would be some kind of divine intervention, but then it was a bit of a double take when their her team knocks her out.
Just knock her out, exactly.
Because at the start
she starts screaming like, "God, get on the fucking satellite!"
Vets and stuff like that. So yes, that line. One of the girls was like,
this is just such a fun movie. So for me, I'm going to say, look, go see it on the big screen. Especially if you're watching this and you're in the States. I know it's released day and date with the cinema, and it's going to be on HBO Max. So streaming HBO Max on the ad-free subscription for 31 days only. Seems like a really strange premise that HBO are going for. I would have thought give exclusivity to the big screen first and then put it on HBO Max, maybe for a short period. But to have it starting off seems really odd to me. What are you guys' thoughts on their thought process behind this? Because obviously we've seen all the stuff with Marvel and stuff that's going on with Johansson and potentially the suing of that kind of stuff. So I understand it being a limited time, but why do it at the start and not bring it in 2-3 months later?
Yeah, I don't quite understand it. I'm not a business person, so I assume maybe there must be a business reason for it. I don't know, but yeah, to me, fair enough. Like you say, okay, you're going to put it on the cinemas for, even if you said 2 weeks, give it 14 days and then it drops on HBO Max. I can kind of understand, because I guess those people that really want to see it on the big screen will probably see it within the first couple of weekends anyway. But yeah, the day and day thing, I don't know. I think especially because obviously coming out of the pandemic, people are so used to having to watch everything at home. I think it means that people won't necessarily make the effort to go to the big screen. Oh, actually, it's nice and easy. I can just watch it at home. Whereas if you gave it, I'd say, even if it was only 2 weeks, well, it gives people a little kick up the backside to be like, okay, yeah, let's go and see it on the big screen. So yeah, I don't quite understand it personally, but as I say, I'm not a business person, so maybe there is a reason for it that I don't. I'm unaware of.
It might be their test point because it is R-rated. They feel that obviously it's not going to maybe make as much as obviously a non-R-rated.
That's a fair point,
movie,
actually. Yeah.
You know, at the theaters, and maybe it's their test point to say, right, you know, who's going to the cinema to see it? What kind of uplift do we see and views and subscriptions on HBO Max? And then when we take that HBO Max away, are there people who still haven't seen it and then going back to cinema? Because, you know, we've talked about this drop off with movies, which have gone on to like Premier Access for Disney Plus. And maybe they want to say, right, in 30 days, now we want to see its performance again at the box office to see, are we getting repeat viewings there or anybody who hasn't gone to see it there? So it might be that this is their test feature to say, we want to see where the numbers are coming and what's driving people in which direction.
I think it's like as a tactical and an economical advantage, I guess, because they've looked at the model of doing the Justice League with the who's that director again from
Zack Snyder, yeah.
So not with Snyder. Before when they Joss Whedon, yeah. So they tried that, trying to make it all kind of Marvel-esque, less blood and gore and whatnot. They tried that model, didn't work. Everyone just pissed, just saying it's a piss poor movie. And when Snyder came in, did a bit more of a darker take to it, and I think that worked a lot. And I think that's the dynamic, the shift they wanted. And that model worked. So they kind of said, okay, let's go to town on Suicide Squad.
So they can embrace it. You know, if you see the popularity of something like Deadpool, you know, R-rated movies can make you a hell of a lot of money. Joker made huge amounts of money. You know, so you know, maybe what Warner's thinking now is maybe that maybe we do need to separate ourselves more from Marvel and actually just go this other route, so people are seeing something different as opposed to something which feels very similar.
I mean, this is just it. I mean, I think with Marvel moving forward, they need to look at certain successes, especially regarding R-rated characters, because they haven't really, gotten dirty just yet. I think Deadpool 3 will be a bit. Well, it's not really a test for them because it's already an established
proven
formula.
IP. Yeah,
you know what I mean. And if you're using Ryan Reynolds as well, it's kind of like, rinse and repeat. Let's try and do this some more. But if they turned around and said Blade was R-rated,
I'm wondering whether this is why they've held back for so long on Blade, because they weren't sure maybe how to fit it in. Blade doesn't need to fit into the MCU. He's not he doesn't have to sit with the Avengers. He doesn't have to sit in that universe. You can obviously bring him in and make him PG. The differences with Deadpool was because of the sort of like breaking the wall and that just of that pop culture references, all that kind of stuff. So it's very set in the time that it's filmed. But with Blade, you can definitely have him as an R-rated movie but come into the MCU and do his own thing. But that's a perfect opportunity for Marvel to say, you know what, let's do something a bit different.
Totally.
I think the thing with Blade as well is it's like, or with the MCU in general, is that everyone seems to think, because everything's in the same universe, it means everyone has to interact. That doesn't have to be the case. Like you say, you can have Blade, it can be R-rated. You can have, the odd sort of Easter egg here and here to indicate that, yes, the Avengers exist. We're in the same universe. But that doesn't mean that Blade has to go, meeting up with Spider-Man and, Captain America and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't have to happen.
Have him team up with Daredevil and bring Daredevil back R-rated.
Bring some darker characters in, or
Ghost
Rider or something like that.
And that's another thing. Daredevil as well. Come on, man. We did 12A the first time round, and then we did R-rated the second time round. Now you tell me which one was better.
Exactly.
I'll tell you that Netflix series is the best series out of all of them. Daredevil was done so right. So right. It was
fantastic, beautifully cast, just well put together, good pacing, and it was just dark, and it was just it was great. Right, so that is pretty much encompassing everything that we're going to talk about for this review. I think the main thing for me is just go see this movie, go see it on the big screen, go see it on the biggest screen you can. It's filmed in IMAX, go see it on IMAX if you can. For me, this is now my favorite DCEU movie. It's I think previously I was a huge fan of Man of Steel, and then I really enjoyed the Zack Snyder Justice League cut. I just thought that was fantastic, and it just made up for everything that had kind of come before it, where I felt there were so many missteps. So those were kind of my top 2 tier. This now is at the top. This is my favorite DCEU movie, hands down. And I just say, for me, to Warner Brothers, just embrace this, and just go for it, because the trouble is with Warner Brothers now, there's just so many projects, so many timelines, we don't know what's crossing over with what anymore. But just keep looking at these individual movies and just make your individual movies class like this. So for me, I'm going to give it a score probably 9.5 out of 10. I couldn't see really much wrong with it. I think to give it 10 is just a classic, but it's not just a really good DCU movie, it's a great comic book movie, and it sits up there with some of the best comic book movies that I've seen as well. So that's me. Sasha, what are your final thoughts on the film?
I'll give it a solid 8.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give it a solid 8. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was spectacular, and yeah, solid 8.
Where do you see it sitting in your ranking of the DCEU movies?
Oh, DCEU movies, it's definitely, this is the fact. Okay, it's real hard. Okay, Man of Steel, I have a love-hate relationship with. And when I say that, as in, it's because how much I love the original Superman.
Yeah.
Okay. The original first 2 Superman is my Superman and is the
Reeves
best.
is Superman. Yeah.
Reeves is the guy. All right. However, Man of Steel just grows on me every time I watch it. It grows on me. The only thing that I don't like about it is that I want my John Williams theme. All right. and Hans Zimmer's theme has grown on me, but I still, it's not better than John Williams. That's my opinion. That also is subjective to everybody else, but it's damn good. And it's just that movie that just keeps growing. The Suicide Squad, I think, is a damn good, solid movie. Damn good time. I like Man of Steel that much better.
A bit more.
And that's probably, but you know why though? It's probably because I love Superman.
Yeah. And
I want great Superman. And one day, someday, I might get a Man of Steel 2 with Henry Cavill. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You hear that, Warner Brothers?
You're dreaming, sir.
I'm dreaming. I'm dreaming.
You know what? My dream is we get that Justice League 2. That's what I want. But
yeah.
There we go. So, Alex, what's your final thoughts of the film?
Yeah, it's hard in terms of placing it. I would say similar to you guys. Obviously, for me, it's Man of Steel is definitely up there. The Snyder Cut of Justice League, and now the Suicide Squad. I would probably have to watch the Suicide Squad now. I would say like a couple more times before I could definitively place it in there. But certainly, those are going to be top 3, and they would probably, switch around depending on my mood and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
in terms of scoring,
I agree with Alex on that point.
Yeah,
for me, it's Man of Steel, this Snyder Cut, and Shazam. I have a soft spot. I
like Shazam, but for me, that's second tier. It's not top.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. I'm with you.
What would you give out of 10, Alex?
I would probably go 8.5 to 9, something like that. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It came out, really loving the film. But yeah.
Dylan, what are your final thoughts?
I thought it was really good, and I'm feeling kind of out of place because I still haven't seen Man of Steel yet. So I know. So
okay, allow the first Suicide Squad. Don't worry about watching that one because it does make any difference.
I was trying to find it on Netflix. If it
go watch Man of Steel,
I would have gone it. Oh yeah, I'll hook myself up.
Come round. I got a spare copy. You can just borrow it.
Nice. Okay, I'll make sure I'll watch that. But I think where it sits for me, from what I've seen from anything from DC stuff, I would probably say I'd give it a 9. First off, with Suicide Squad, I thought it was really great. Again, coming in completely oblivious to some of the characters in there, I didn't have a clue about, but it kept me engrossed, kept me focus on the character and how it kind of drove the story and stuff. And I did feel that emotiveness of each character, how they kind of played that part. And you kind of really feel for them as well. Definitely how it's like the whole anti-hero thing. Even though they're bad guys, you kind of feel some form of emotion towards it. So it's got a bit of that Japanese-esque anime thing to it, because they kind of put an interesting spin on bad characters, but they've got like this kind of, the reason why For instance, the Polka Dot Man, you know, his mom experimented on him and stuff. But again, if I can swear, okay, so listen, fuckers, go see it in the cinema. Support the cinema, support the people who's going to bring that sort of cinematic experience, and also it's definitely a better experience watching it in the cinema on the big screen. Yeah, you can watch it in the comfort of your home, but it's not as great as watching it in the cinema on the big screen. This
needs the big screen for sure. And as you said earlier, Ken, the bigger screen you can, the better. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be going back to the cinema to see it again. Definitely. You know, it's one of those films that I will see at the cinema twice. So, well, thank you very much for joining me, gentlemen. Thank you very much for listening in and viewing this podcast. Much appreciated. You can find all our Creative Control videos on YouTube if you want to see the visual. We do the obviously bi-weekly episodes on our topics, and then we do trailer reviews and movie reviews. Or you can listen to it on our podcast, which you can download from any major podcast platform. So, guys, if anybody wants to get in touch with you via social media, what are your handles? Where can they reach you?
Get me on Sashman3
on Twitter. Alex?
I'm on Instagram at Lex_Doman.
And
I'm kind of about. I'm on Instagram more so, but you can catch me on at Gaijin
cool.
on Instagram.
Awesome. And you can catch me, Kenan Talks Film on Twitter or on Instagram. So let us know your thoughts of the movie. Put it down in the comments. We'd love to hear your reviews and your thoughts. As always, if you got any ideas for topics that you want to hear us talk about in our show, let us know. And if there's any particular movies you want us to review, let us know that as well. Thank you very much for joining us. And until next time, peace out.
Okay.
Yeah.